So, where are the students? There are no students today. School के बच्चे कहाँ हैं? How many are there? Few of them. Board exams are going on. I thought this is a student interaction. So ठीक है. But there is one student here who is studying all the time here. So this is supposed to be an interaction session. Since I said there is only one student, I'm reminded of there is no system. It's just open. They're going to say something. There was a great Sufi teacher who was the founder of a Sufi order called the Naqshbandi order. His name was Bahauddin Naqshband. Now he had one disciple. He had many. But there was one who was always following him and fawning on him and flattering him wherever possible, whenever possible, with the hope that one day he might succeed and become the head of the order. But I think he didn't know who he was dealing with. But anyway, so one day there was a big satsang. When I say satsang, the Sufis don't call it satsang, but there was a big gathering, and there were about 2,000 people in the gathering. And this disciple, who was very fond of flattering the master, said to him, "Wow, master, this is one of the best gatherings I have seen." Master said, "Okay." And there were 2,000 people. What a wonderful gathering, great number of people. So the master said, "Yeah, I know, but there was only one person who understood anything that I said." So he pepped up. He thought he was going to say, "You are the only fellow who understood." So I said, "Who, master?" He said, "Me." So numbers don't matter, and too much talking doesn't matter. The interaction means a meeting of the minds, in our ancient Vedic texts, there is a beautiful sloka with which many prayers and meetings and satsangs start with. Very interesting. I think you all know it. Unfortunately, today Sanskrit is at a premium, so I don't know whether you look into what it means. Sanskrit has become so great that the other day a Sanskrit Pandit came to me and said, I didn't know he was a Sanskrit Pandit. He said, "Sir, कुछ काम नहीं मिल रहा है, काम नहीं." मैंने कहा, "क्यों?" बोला कि मैं संस्कृत पंडित हूँ सर। ये हालत है. So anyway, so the meaning of this is, first let me chant. Sahana bhavatu. I'm sure many of you know. Sahana bhunaktu. Sahaviryam karavavahi. Tejasvina avaditamastu. Ma vidvishavahi. It's as ancient as the Vedas. Now note this. I'm saying this because it's an interaction. It's not just a talk. If it's a talk, it will be like what Bahauddin says. Only I will understand what's going on. So, it's an interaction. When you say interaction, it's a satsang. It's not a speech. Make a distinction between the two. So, sahana bhavatu. May both of us be protected. Who? You and I. Not I and you. Sahana bhavatu, may both of us be protected. The word saha means both. So, protection from, first physical protection, because there is a hurricane now, then we won't be able to sit down and have satsang. So that's one thing, physical. Or if you have too much gas trouble, you can't have a satsang, right? Both of us. And the other is mental protection. If we are surrounded by objects which attract our mind, then we won't be able to fix our attention. I am able to fix my attention now, in spite of all the colorful clothes here, but generally it's rather difficult to fix your attention when the senses are attracted by outside things. That is the second protection. May the mind be protected. Right? Imagine sitting for satsang and there's a big plate full of aloo parathas hot. What satsang can you do? No? Somebody is very busy there. So, and spiritually protected, which means what? That one does not go astray, and that one does not get caught in wrong hands, and one does not fall into a pit. You know the famous expression, Andheineva niyamana yatandaha from the Mundaka Upanishad, the blind leading the blind, both fall into a ditch. So may we be protected. This is the prayer to start with. So what I want you to notice, you and I, not just me, not just you. The sharing. Sahanao bhunaktu. May both of us be nourished. Nourished, first physical nourishment. Second, environmental nourishment. That we be nourished by fresh air, which is at a premium today. Why do you think yogis go off to hills, mountains in Himalayas? Because air is fresh. Right? There are trees. Here we have a tree man here. His only thing in life is to plant thousands of trees. Trees are so important for the environment. That's why I was very happy when they said this is a students' interaction. I thought the students should be inspired to plant as many trees as possible. Trees are very important. In the olden days, all hermitages were in the forests. You could call them forest academies. So, may we be nourished, and also nourished with proper knowledge. Not knowledge which destroys us, but knowledge which creates, inspires, does good things, allows our mind to expand. That is the nourishment that we seek. You and I. Sahaviryam karavavahai. May the vitality in both of us increase. Without vitality you can do nothing. What can you do when you're all the time weak? Vitality is important. Fearlessness is one of the first qualifications for truth. Sahaviryam karavavahai. Tejasvinavadi tamastu. May the spiritual energy, tejas, in us increase. Last, ma vidvishavai. Let's not fight with each other. Let's not quarrel with each other. Make a distinction between dialogue and argument. In argument, you know what it is. I think I'm right and you think you're right. This is an argument. What is a dialogue? When you and I are looking at a problem and trying to solve it together. Ma vidvishavai. Let's not get into arguments, but let's be constructively looking at solutions. Let's not make our search and our energies and our daily life into a heated argument like the parliament, unfortunately. Let's constructively discuss things. So, this is an interaction, therefore. Now, when you have an interaction, it need not necessarily be that we are talking about one particular subject. What's the meaning of an interaction? When I was with my Guru, Maheshwarnath Babaji, many years I walked with him, sat with him. Very often the knowledge which I got didn't come through kind of what we call it, a syllabus or a structured workshop or anything of that kind. Sometimes we just sat near the Ganga and talked about the crows and the birds and the river. At the end of 2 days, I figured out that I've learned much more than if I had read the Book of Indian Birds by Salim Ali. Because here was a being, a person who had actually touched something higher than we know anything about. And for him, knowledge was not something to be ready-made and put into the brain. That's information. And essentially, we don't need to carry all information in our heads. Why? Because there is the big God Google, G. Any time you can go and get your information. Sometimes it may be wrong, but what is the guarantee that if I give you information, it's right? So, information feeding is not education. Drilling what you think is right into somebody's head is not education. There's a beautiful book by Ivan Illich. I'm sure many of you are staff in the school, right? There's a beautiful book by Ivan Illich called De-Learning. I wish it's part of your staff study curriculum. Don't give it to the children, they might rebel. You read it. So the process of understanding depends on not information being fed, but on opening the mind to absorb new things. Now, to absorb new things, you might have to discard the old. Shiva is considered to be a destroyer. Actually, it's not destroyer. Shiva is a symbol of regeneration. If the old doesn't go, where is the space for the new? So, I'm not talking about human beings or animals, old and young. I'm talking about information. If the old knowledge is broken, then there is space for new knowledge to come. And de-learning simply means questioning your knowledge of everything once in a while. Not every day, then you won't be able to learn anything. But every now and then sit down and think, maybe I'm wrong. People get married for the first time and they come to me, say, any advice? Luckily, I'm not a sannyasin, so I can advise, because I'm living through a married life. So I think it's very important to do that. So when they come and ask me any advice, sir, I say first advice is, don't ever think that you have understood your partner completely. And tell her that you have also not understood me completely. So start there. And then the next, don't start with the understanding that I know everything or I'm always right. You say, I may be right, but perhaps you may be right too. Then we can meet, and the minds can meet. Otherwise, if I think I am always right, the other person is always wrong, how are we going to lead a life together? Now, this is married life. Apart from that, it's so also in ordinary life. Between the student and the teacher, the relationship, I would say that when you go into the classroom, I want to tell you another story. You know that in the later part of the life of the great philosopher and teacher, Jiddu Krishnamurti, I had the opportunity to associate with him during the last few years of his life, very closely. So much so that there was knee pain, I used to take some oil and rub it on it. And he said, I can do the rubbing myself. I said, doesn't matter, so I'll do it for you. So he was very old and I was then very young. So they have I'm not part of the Krishnamurti Foundation. I'm not part of anything, okay? I'm a vagabond. So in those days, I was part of the Krishnamurti Foundation. And they have a school even today, which is called the Rishi Valley School. So Krishnamurti came every year, because half the time he was abroad, half the time he was in India, and he went to school and he had a dialogue with the kids. Problem was, every time he had a dialogue with the kids and went back, teachers had a big problem on their hands. So in one of these dialogues, school belongs to them, of course, to him, in a way. In one of the dialogues, I remember I was there with him. He asked the 9th standard kids, 9th or 10th, are you afraid of the teachers? Actually, he was talking to a boy, so he said, are you afraid of the teachers, sir? And the boy said, a boy and a few other girls around, they said, yes, sir. He said, why? They said, sir, because they know much more than we do. He said, I beg your pardon, I'm very sorry to, they don't know much more than you do. After he left, it took 1 month to bring the class back to normal. But what I mean to say is that when we go into the classroom, we should go with the understanding that sometimes fresh young minds, which are students, they have ideas and thoughts which are sometimes, revolutionary. Not revolutionary in the sense of Marxist revolution, ideologically revolutionary. And if you look from time immemorial down, all the great teachers who have come, spiritual teachers, have all been in some way revolutionary. They were trying to restore the order which is breaking down, or they were trying to see that the old order had broken, we need something new. Now for that you need to have an open mind. Otherwise you can't do it. And if you have an open mind as a teacher, I assure you the children have an open mind. Therefore when you even start a class, I go to we have a school. I won't say we have, this is also our school, but I go to the other school, let's say, which is it's called the People Grow School, which we run near Madanapalli. Go there, we have interactions with the children. So it's an open interaction. I invite them, I say, you can say what you want, we can have, not a fight, we won't have a quarrel, but we'll discuss. And sometimes they come up with such original ideas. I'm saying this because the staff has to remember that every generation that comes, I find is more intelligent than the previous generation. what I used to think when I was 10 years old is not what the 10-year-old thinks now. It's increased, it has improved, it has expanded because of evolution and inputs, exposure. So if the parents and the teachers who are say 40 years old say that what we have studied is the right thing, times have passed. What this guy knows is more than that, in some way. Maybe less as far as the information goes, but you know what I mean. This is a new bud that is coming up, and it can blossom in a different way. We don't see this. We impose, because we think this is the right thing. If we can just move that a bit. I'm not asking it's a tall order to move everything, but at least who moved my cheese, like move a little. Open it up a bit. And then you will see that the interaction really becomes great. Why I refer to this is with Babaji sometimes. I remember one whole day there was a complete discussion on making tea. It was a 1 hour discussion. I mean, it was not scheduled to be 1 hour, it was just informal. So what happened was Babaji never drank tea. I loved tea, and he didn't discourage me. So we were sitting in Rishikesh somewhere talking, there's a nice tea shop, smell of fresh tea coming. Oh, this is banaya chai with milk. So I was 2-3 times I looked there, then I looked back. Babaji said, chai pee lo phir. So I went and got a glass of tea. That fellow asked, Babaji payenge? I said, nahi payenge, I will eat. So we sat down, I had a cup of tea, and Babaji said, you like only this kind of tea or any other kind of tea? I like this kind of. Then he gave me a discussion on different kinds of tea and how tea is derived from China, which I didn't know at that time. It was I was 19 and a half years old then. He said, the word chai itself is Chinese. He says chai. And it's now become so popular in the world. And then he said the Chinese used to drink tea without milk. And then we, he said, are so fond of milk. And then the British started putting milk in tea. And so it was a great discussion. At the end of it, but because the discussion became so interesting, I told Babaji, aur ek chai ke liye. So, by the end of 1 hour, I wouldn't say I became an expert on tea making, but there was something about it, something about the theory of knowledge which I learned, which was that when the mind of two people, you and I, are looking at the same subject with great interest, then what happens is your mind waves, thought waves, and my thought waves, they begin to move at the same rate. Otherwise, whatever I say, the words go in and then they get translated into, depending on my prejudices, into something. And then I absorb it and say I have knowledge. But when this happens, when your thought and my thought are vibrating at the same frequency, it may be a discussion on a Fab India kurta, it's all right. But when one is truly interested in it, when the mind is fully out there, then when the mind's frequencies are same, something transfers itself. And that what transfers itself is more important than all the knowledge you have gathered about the kurta. This is what I am trying to say. This is what is called a satsang. Because then this mind and that mind are together linked in the same frequency, and very often when you get up you realize that you have absorbed much more than you would have absorbed in a book or a video or even in the words. So this is what is called beyond the words. When this is understood, because the source of all knowledge actually is beyond words. There is no other way to convey, so we put it into words, which of course is required. But in the process of putting it into words, some of it is lost. This is why the ancient Upanishads, Upanishad said, for instance, Yad vajana bhyutitam, that which cannot be expressed through words. Words can only go up to a certain extent, and then they fail. Because words are built on our definitions, right? And words depend on what meaning we give to them, right? So, suppose I don't know any English. And you call me a fool. What does it matter? If I don't know English, kya ho? Somebody said, fool. And if I know Hindi only, I might think he's calling me a fool and get very happy. So the guy is saying something and I'm interpreting it in some other way. So it depends on my mind and my background and what I know and what I do not know. So words are at best, of course you need words, there's no other way to express things. Words are at best a meager, not even meager, limited way of expressing the infinite. When you say Om, the real meaning of the Om lies when you have finished chanting Om, the Ardha Matra. Om. Others are words. After that, when you ring a bell, what happens? After the bell ringing is actually over, it's still going on in there. That's really meaning of Om. Because that which Om represents cannot be described through any word. It cannot be put into any concept of time. So some great people call it Akal. Infinite. So, it is infinite or infinite, which is correct? Students? Thank you. It depends on perspective. Once I and my friend, who was come back to me quite fat, we went to a restaurant and we ordered some soup. It was a Chinese restaurant. So my friend asked the waiter, "You think one soup would be enough for two?" He said, "It depends on the appetite, sir." He was looking at him actually. Yeah, it depends on the perspective. So, okay, now that is words. Although words are essential, without that what am I doing here? Okay? Words cannot really express everything. Can words express love? Yeah, so many poems have been written. Who is this guy who used to live in Old Delhi? Ghalib wrote so many poems. This is how I remember, connect with people, the guy who lived in Old Delhi. Mirza Ghalib wrote so many beautiful poems on love. But actually nobody knows about it. These are all attempts to express the inexpressible. And two young people stand in the bus stand looking at each other. What are they looking at? Maybe hormonal, the lower grade of love we call, but whatever. What are they looking at? Nothing. 15 minutes looking at each other. You go and ask, क्या हो रहा है? अरे कुछ होता है, पर क्या होता है? Nobody knows. Even that we cannot explain and understand. Imagine that which is on a higher level of love. Not possible to understand. But there is one thing which can be linked and go as close as possible to the core. not words. Have you ever thought about this? This simple question. Can you think without a language? Try. Either you are thinking in English, or in Hindi, or in Punjabi, or in Himachali, or in Telugu. You can't think. When you think, you are already formulating it in some language, which is most familiar to us. Yeah. So is there a thought without language? Is there something which is beyond? Yes, there is. That goes closest to the essence of this whole universe, and that is music. Yeah, music with words, of course, is great, but music without words. Music is so connected with the mind that in the ancient times, when people wanted to express the truth in poetic form, they always added some music to it. It was set in music. Because apart from the words, with music, our mind starts going in that frequency. You go to Gurudwaras. How is the Shabad is not talked, sung. In fact, people are called ragis because they know the raga in which to fit it. So music affects us much more than words. If somebody plays a flute, do you need any language? If I sing in Hindi and you don't know Hindi, you don't understand. But then you'll appreciate the music. Yeah. Suppose there is Beethoven's symphony going on. No words. Anybody who listens is arrested by it. You might after a few minutes feel sleepy because you don't know what you're doing, but generally. Or listen to the beautiful strains of the flute or the veena. And there is one instrument I hope is revived, which is so beautiful and so nice. It's almost gone out. Very few people. And that is the not Rabba, Sarangi. Sarangi is very much like a Rabab. Rabab is with the bow. Do you need words there? You don't. So that music therefore is closer to the essence of our heart. And in the essence of the heart is the supreme reality. So just now, I was rambling on about many things. But what was the most beautiful part of this when I stopped talking? And you're all sitting quietly, suspended. You don't know what comes next. One is over. See that? This is the essence of the inner. When all noise has ceased, not only external noise, which is like my words, but when the mind has stopped chattering, from the time we are born, that's what we remember, but even before, my mind chatters. And it's going on until we die, it's chattering. We don't know, after that also it might be chattering somewhere. If when that chattering stops and comes down and relaxes and everything, there is a silence. In that silence you touch your innermost being. And then you realize this innermost being is also the innermost being of everybody. It's not different, it's the same. any direction you bow down, it's there. The Ishavasya Upanishad says, Ishavashyamidam sarvam. That supreme reality pervades everywhere. You know the story of Guru Nanak, who went to Makkah. He was sleeping with his legs towards the Kaaba when somebody came and told him, what is this? He said, I'm very sorry, but can you show me one place where I can stretch my legs? I see the Lord everywhere. So this is what happens. In that silence, in that quietness. And I believe that more than words, pure sound of music leads your mind towards it. That's why music has been so important in all spiritual disciplines. If nothing, at least the chant, sound of Om. Not in the least, I'm not saying less, but if nothing, at least listening to that sound. From there you go on to an inner sound which is called Anahat Nath. The more your mind is with Anahat Nath, you have effortlessly, you float into the highest. And then you realize this is the aim of life. I've been running around like mad. This is what it is. And if you touched it, then nothing is your own. Everything is everybody's. So again, like yesterday, I rest my case. Yes, sir.
Should I speak out or should I?
Of course you can. We'll get you a microphone. Now, try to keep it brief, to the point.
You were just telling us about how once we touch the inner core, we find it is the same in everyone. But at least I have not touched it, and I'm sure, pretty much sure most of us here have. And
Don't be sure.
as long as we haven't done that, we still have an individual identity. And we have our individual identity.
Individual.
And we identify with a certain belief system, with a certain... especially from where I come from, I find there's a lot of, at least an attempt to impose a certain other ideology, certain other belief system on the general population who are not so privileged with the aid of with financial aid or through evangelism, whatever. How do you respond to this? Because I feel anger, but anger may not be the healthiest thing for me. And so how is that going? You just let it go, leave it, let it, or ignore it, or should we handle it in some way?
It will be nice if you are a little more specific. This become like a day newspapers and media nowadays. You don't mention anything. One community is throwing stones at another community. Can you?
If you want me to be specific, sir, I will mention Christian evangelism. It's pretty big in from where I come from. Christian evangelism is very big from where I come from.
Okay. So, what is the problem?
The problem is, if someone, I do respect the belief system, and if someone does read it, understands it, and likes it, that's fine. But here, what I find is
Yeah. Now I got it. See, that's why I said it's better to have clarity. Sit down. Now you know a couple of things in this matter. One is when did the church start? How many years after Jesus Christ? 100 years? Yeah. And Jesus Christ, as a human being, as a person, was a wandering yogi, according to me. He has himself confessed in that The snakes have holes and the foxes have dens. Son of man has no place to lay his head. Now this is a pakka description of a parivrajak, one who wanders in search of truth, or one who wanders after having found the truth. Let's say that in his case. And if you go to the core teachings of Jesus, even if it is watered down a bit in the Testaments, because the Testaments came much later, St. James' version must have come several hundred years after this man walked the streets of Jerusalem. Even then, you can do various cover-ups, but you cannot completely cover the essence. So if you read, there is one part of the teachings in all the Gospels. There is Matthew, there is Mark, you know it. There's Mark, I hope you know that. There's Matthew, there's Mark, there's John, and there's one more. Luke. So, there's one part which occurs in all, and that is Sermon on the Mount. Jesus climbs up the mountain and he speaks to the multitude. That's how it's expressed there. And he says some things. You will not find any mention of coercing anybody to accept a religion, or bribe somebody to accept a religion, or give financial incentives to convert somebody into a religion. It's just purely meant heart to heart with human beings. For instance, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see. Not blessed are the Christians, that they shall see God. Christian, by definition, there means one whose heart is pure, because he can see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. I'm not quoting, this is from the Bible, from the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Where is a sect or where is a religion out there? Lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. So, the essence of the religion which you come from cannot be blamed. It is the later additions and human greed and vanity and imperialistic thoughts that bring about these changes. So, you can still be and follow the essence of the religion and not get. So, you don't have to get angry about it, but you can, you refuse to accept it. You don't have to convert to some other religion for doing this. What I'm trying to say is, even in the religion you come from, which you are born, there is space out there. There are sparks which you can take up and discard the rest. The problem is it happens with organization. It doesn't happen only with Christianity. It happens with all when it is organized. This is the problem. Organizing is necessary to run things. The problem is when the organization becomes more important than the core. That's where the problem starts. I have to repeat this story, which is oft repeated by me and by, I don't know about others, but apparently the devil, you know the devil, anybody knows the devil? I don't know. So the devil or Satan, in the ancient Hindu system of thought, there is no Satan. So some asuras are good and some devas are bad. So there is no such complete department where one is totally bad and the other is totally good. There is no such thing. But there is in the Semitic religions. There is Satan, who is the epitome of all evil. And there is God, who is the definition of all that is good. So anyway, that is, unfortunately we are all in the grey area between. So the devil and his very close friend went for a walk. So the devil bent down and picked up something from the grass and the lawn and put it into his pocket. So his friend said, "Hey, what did you pick up just now?" So the devil said, "I just picked up the truth and put it in my pocket." His friend said, "Then your days are numbered, because you are the opposite of truth. You are untruth, you are darkness, you are evil. So if you just picked up the truth and put it in your pocket, then your days are numbered. Your time is finished now. You're going to end." So the friend smiled and tapped him on his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, friend. I'll organize it." You know what I mean? But then, to function in this world, you need an organization. But make sure that the organization does not become more important than the core. If that is there, there's no point in getting angry. If when you get angry, go back to your Bible, to the Sermon on the Mount, and say, "Bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute." I'm not a Christian missionary somewhere. You know, when you go to the core, you find that all manifestations of religion are modifications and manifestations of that core in different forms, different geographical locations, for different population, different people. I'm sure I see many people from the Sikh faith here. There is in the Granth Sahib, the Kabir, lot of Kabir. In fact, if the Granth Sahib, if the Gurus had not collected the sayings of Kabir and put them into the Granth, much of it would have been lost. I am trying to say this core, which is same, from which different manifestations have taken place. When we were on our Padayatra walk, somewhere in Delhi we went to a small mosque which also had a madrasa, and the man in charge was a young Maulvi with a white turban. So he gave a good talk. He avoided things which are too controversial and gave a good talk. When he gave tea, we all had tea and biscuits. But he asked me, "Which is your next stop?" I said, "My next stop is 15-20 minutes away, it's a Gurudwara." He was a very young man. Suddenly his eyes brightened up. He said, "Can I also come?" I said, "Nobody stops anyway going to a Gurudwara. I'm going, you can come with me." So he came. First he thought he'll take the boys from the madrasa, then he decided no. So he came. We entered the Gurudwara. I had to look for a cloth. He had a pagdi in his head, so he didn't need that also. So we both of us entered. We were welcomed heartily. I don't remember which Gurudwara. The Delhi team might know. Green Park. We were welcomed. They came and gave us a saropa, welcomed us, brought us inside. Of course, they insisted that we will have the langar. That's a different story. But we went inside and we sat down. The Granth was opened at random. Pages were turned at random. And the thing that came up was Kabir. So he sang, "Awwal Allah Nuru Bhai Khudrat ke sab bande." Can you complete the rest for me? So the Maulvi leaned close to me and asked me, "ये क्या कुरान पढ़ रहे हैं क्या?" Because the word Allah. So I say, "ये ग्रंथ पढ़ रहे हैं." अच्छा. And then, see, ignorance, having been exposed, having seen. If you sit in your own little closed room and say, "This is all the world that exists," what do? Move. There's the story of, the frog in the well. There was a small well in which there used to live a small frog. Yeah, there were a couple of other frogs there. And this was the only frog which could jump from one end of the well to the other. Strongest. So once the floods came, and another frog who used to live near the river got thrown into the well with the waters. So they welcomed him. Hello, where are you from? I'm from the river. What do you mean river? The river is a vast stretch of water many times. They said, this cannot exist. Impossible. How far can you jump? He said, I can jump. So this frog came and jumped. This much? He said, no, I can jump more. This much? This end to that end? Much more. The much more doesn't exist, they said. Where is much more? Because all your life one is in the well, so where is much more? So this is all there is to it, finished. And then the frog had no answer because they had not seen the river. So how do you answer? How do you define? You can't. Luckily, a flood came. And this whole thing got lifted up and transferred near the river. The other frog which was in there said, hey, what is this? He said, this is what I told you about. And this is much I can jump, I'll show you. But then the frog said, but remember, there are creatures which can jump farther than us. We are frogs. So, when the mind touches the core, then there is one big world. There is no small, narrow things. And in fact, I think all the great teachers tried to teach this in the way they could to the populace or to the population who could understand that much they knew. It's like telling the frog in the well that there is a river. They won't understand. At least try to teach them how to jump from this end to the other. But the teacher knows that it is much beyond. So, the teacher should know that the student knows much beyond. No. That was a joke. But we should give credit to everybody. Also, you must understand that everybody does not know everything. I may know something. You may know something. I may know more about something than you know. You may know more about something than I know. If this much is understood, life will be happy, peaceful, sweet. It's no problem. You can look at other points, other people's viewpoints, and say maybe he's right in his own way, but he may not be right in the absolute sense of the term. Time up. Sorry, with one question, the time is up, sir, we need to leave now. कितने बजे? 11:15 आपने कहा. 11:15 बज गए. No time. ठीक है, पूछिए आप. You will not be able to sleep if you don't ask. We are friends for so long now. आप पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट में ऐसे ही पूछते थे क्या सबको? Sir, thank you.
This is regarding techniques of breathing.
The needs of?
Techniques of breathing.
Breathing, okay.
Sir, while reading various books on spirituality, we encounter different techniques of breathing in meditation and kriya. Different yogis, masters have different techniques, all of which seem to be quite convincing. The reader often gets confused or at least wonders about the different techniques. With due respect to all the techniques which might lead to the same goal, all of us sitting here under your benign presence and protection would love to adhere to one such technique, which we would henceforth follow in our spiritual journey, and which would set all our doubts confusion at rest.
It won't set your theoretical confusion at rest, but it can set your mind's turbulence at rest.
Yes.
This is possible. Yeah. So, are you saying that I should do something? Is that what you are asking?
Sir,
But there may be people who don't want something.
I think, sir, all of us are in the same mode, actually sitting in your presence. So we would like to meditate, and we are also in the habit of reading the literature, various literature. But sometimes more we read, more we get confused.
Don't? Okay. Wait. First of all, you read as much as you like, but don't get confused. There's nothing wrong in reading. You can have as many inputs as possible, but don't get confused, because you stick to what has been taught to you. If you really have faith in the person who has taught to you, then there is no need to get confused. You stay with what has been taught to you. Okay? Now, you have taken Kriya Yoga from me, so you just stick to that, and that's more than enough. There is also pranayama involved in it, and that pranayama I have found to be very effective. So there is no reason why it shouldn't be effective for you. And this breath work, or working on the breath, is a very ancient tradition which has come down in different forms to different teachers. It need not necessarily be my Kriya Yoga, but anything to do, because I'll tell you why. The mind cannot sit idle. The quality of the mind. I mean, idle means without thought, without thinking. And it has to be always engaged in something. Even a lazy guy, when he's lying down doing nothing, his mind is engaged in something. Either pleasure or fear of pain, one of these. Now, to suddenly tell the mind, stop all thinking, is not possible. So how do you, and as long as it slows down, there is no way you can find freedom from the turbulence. So the yogis, the Rishis had invented various ways by which your breath. Why? Because the breath is the most important part of our lives. We believe that the breath is the link to the Supreme. Why is it the most important part of our life? You can live for some days without eating, right? Otherwise Gandhiji would have died long ago. You can spend many days without drinking water. This is also possible. Half a minute you cannot spend without breathing. Nobody can. Unless you are a great yogi who breathes in and never lets it out. I mean, that's a different story. Nobody can. So, therefore, it's such an important link, such an important thing in your whole system, including the life of the body. And when it goes, you're dead. Right? Puncture. You only hear then the tire becomes flat. So, it's so important, but we don't give any attention to it. We think it's automatically going on. From birth to death, it's going on, and we don't give any attention to it. So the Rishi said, for a change, can you give some attention to your breath, which is the link to your life itself, without which you are snuffed out. So therefore, they said giving attention to the breath simply means that till now you have not been attending to your breath. So when you sit down for some time, as you breathe in, give complete attention to your breath. Watch it going. Not with any particular intention, but just, and then when you are breathing out, give complete attention to it. And at some point when you do that, for a short while the breath just stops for a while. Don't get worried about it. Just wait and watch. Main thing is to be aware of your breathing. When you breathe in and when you breathe out. And there is a simple technique which I think can be learned by everybody. It doesn't have to have, you don't have to sign your checkbook for that. It's very simple. Just sit quietly and as you breathe in, mentally in your mind, chant the sound of hum. And when you breathe out, saw, hum, saw, hum, saw. When you breathe in, it is hum. When you breathe out, it is saw. So just allow the mind to go with this in hum and out saw. And just don't even wonder what it means. It doesn't matter really. Hum sound actually means I am that. Just stay with that sound and allow it to go in and out. Close your eyes and fix your attention on your breath. I'm sure if you do this for 5 minutes at a stretch, first thing that will occur to you is that there is no distraction. There are no intruding thoughts. Why? Because the mind is applied to the inner. It can't remain in a vacuum. Either it has to be applied outside or it is applied inside. Since it's fully employed inside, it frees itself from the outside and stays there. And it's a simple thing. There is no thought process involved in this except the sound. So you have kind of cut the thought process temporarily. Temporarily, it will come back, of course. So if you sit and do this for some time, every day, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, before you start the day or in the evening before you go to sleep, you will find that at least for a short while, your mind has become quiet and tranquil. And if you continue for a long time, you will feel like sitting for a longer time without forcing yourself. If this happens at some point, you will find that even in daily life, when you're moving around outside, you're doing your work with great attention and not getting distracted unnecessarily. But it takes time. Everything takes time. The mind which is accustomed to be disturbed, to bring it back to quietude, is it easy? You need to work on. So actually I have given you a technique. Anyone can practice it. You don't have to belong to any particular religion to not practice it. It's allowed. Breath is for everyone, right? Is there anybody who doesn't have a breath? It's God's gift. So stay with it. Last question.
So you mentioned the core and that institution and organization has been built on a certain foundation. So in all the goodness and goodwill in the world, for people who feel purity, love and goodwill for other people, what is the source of the purity of the core?
What is the?
Source of the purity of the core.
The source is inside us.
Where does our goodwill come from?
From inside us. I'll tell you. Theoretically it's like this. This is at the moment theoretical until you experience it. There is an all-pervading supreme compassion in this universe. The good news is that a part of that, a spark of that is in the heart of all living beings. It is not manifest because the mind is caught up in agitation, division and conflict, So that is not manifest. So if you can calm the mind and go deep inside and get back in touch with the spark, which is the real you. What we see outside is only a manifestation. The real you is that. That is the one that is the consciousness, which makes you aware of everything that's happening without getting involved. So all goodness, compassion, everything comes from that source within us, in our hearts, which some people have called Antaryami, the God who sits inside the heart. When you get in touch, which happens in absolute tranquility, sometimes it happens when you feel intense compassion for someone who is suffering, then also it can happen. Different people are of different kinds, so it happens to different people in different ways. I know of a person who found it when he was in jail. He was trying hard to go inside the core of his heart. Tried very hard. Sometimes he succeeded, sometimes he didn't. This is the spark which is the source of all infinite compassion. And then he was thrown into jail for something. And one day, while he was sitting inside the cell, his eyes closed, he heard the jailer walking on the corridor, wearing boots. And he heard the sound. His mind went with that sound. Soon he disidentified from the jailer only the sound. And the mind followed the sound. Suddenly the sound ceased because the fellow went off. And then there was a silence. He said, there you are. So it can happen. It need not be that you are trying hard to meditate, it should happen. But you must try, of course. When you touch that core, and even if you theoretically understand that there is something like that, then one day I think the universal compassion will dawn and it will start working through. If any moment now in your life you feel that you should help somebody or have some compassion and kindness to others who are suffering, it's actually a manifestation of that. That's why we bow down to that all the time and say, have compassion on me so that I have compassion on the other. And it happens, I think, when the mind ceases to hate. It's not easy, it's very difficult. But when the mind ceases to hate, and it's getting late, I wanted to tell you a nice, it's not even a story, it's a real thing. We'll have 5 minutes to finish it. You know, just before the long walk which we had, I was meeting various people to take their blessings. I mean, blessing means to inform that we are doing this, please be with us. I got the opportunity of meeting the Dalai Lama in Delhi at that time. He was having a gathering, so I got an appointment, one-on-one, and I went to see him. It's very funny because when I entered the room, I discovered that he had my autobiography on the table. He said, somebody gave this to me, I was waiting for you so that you can sign it. Then there were so many people, diplomats and all that. So were you there in Delhi at that time, Brijesh? No. Mansingh. So I went inside, and a man who is respected all over the world, with a Nobel Prize, head of the Tibetan religion government, everything. He was standing at the door and he said, come inside. So I said, this is humility. And then he took me inside and we sat down, and after 10 minutes I said, Your Holiness, I think it's my time is up because there are a lot of people waiting, there are diplomats. He said, nobody is waiting, sit down. So we had a nice discussion. And I won't go into some philosophical discussions. One thing which touched me was, he said, do you know that there is another Lama called the Panchan Lama? I said, yes, I'm aware. So there's the Dalai Lama and there's the Panchan Lama. So the Dalai Lama came off to India. The Chinese nabbed the Panchan Lama and took him off and put him in prison in China. 25 years they tortured him in the prison. All he had to say was the chairman Mao was the supreme head, which he wouldn't. So they tortured him for 25 years. the end of 25 years, they released him. Naturally, he came to meet the Dalai Lama. He said, after the wounds were dressed, is how he said, and after he was kind of good enough to talk, we sat down and had a discussion. So he said, it suddenly occurred to me, we have been taught that we should have no fear. So it occurred to me to ask him about this. So I asked him, during these 25 years of torture in the prison, at any point, did you feel any fear? Did you have any fear? He said he thought for a few minutes and he said, 3 times during this 25 years I had this great fear. So he said, what fear? He said, I got this great fear that I might end up hating these guys. And His Holiness said, so did it happen? He said, I'm proud to say it didn't. This is compassion. His Holiness said, I said to him, you're better than me. That is humility. Thank you. Om Shanti Shanti.